Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum 5. Livestream von der AERO. Hello and welcome to our 5th livestream at AERO, and we will switch to English in a moment. Ich bin Thomas Borchert vom Fliegermagazin. Wir sind bei Lone Mountain Aircraft. Ich stehe mit Philipp Pullman. Hi Philipp.
Hallo.
Und der Philipp spricht sehr viel besser Englisch als Deutsch und deshalb werden wir gleich auf Englisch wechseln. Es geht...
No Meine Deutsch ist sehr schlecht.
Not bad at all.
It gets better every day we're here.
Right. Es geht um Gebrauchtflugzeuge und Gebrauchtflugzeughandel und Verkauf. Und darüber reden wir jetzt mit Philipp von Lone Mountain Aircraft. Eure Fragen sind natürlich jederzeit herzlich willkommen, wie immer. Ja, und dann legen wir einfach mal los. Philipp, so what exactly is Lone Mountain doing?
Well, so Lone Mountain is a brokerage.
Right.
And we're a global brokerage. We are specialists in owner-flown aircraft and helping owners of aircraft move from pistons up into turbines.
Right.
So we have a presence in the US, which is the largest aviation market, and we have a growing presence here in Europe.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I, as a German pilot, wanted to buy an aircraft, why would I look at Lone Mountain Aircraft?
Well, so we have a lot of inventory. Mm-hmm. So at any given time, we have between 80 and 120 different airplanes for sale.
Right.
We're a partner to Cirrus Aircraft, but we work across all brands. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's an inventory play, but we can help a German or really anybody around the world. We can help them either buy an airplane, have their first airplane, help them enter it into service, or upgrade an airplane. We can acquire aircraft on their behalf and represent that interested person in airplane ownership and throughout their process.
So you're helping both buyers that are looking for an airplane as well as sellers that want to kind of sell their airplane.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we can represent either the buyer or the seller.
Right.
Very difficult to represent them both, so we don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, we're supporting sellers in their transitions in or out of an airplane,
right.
And we can support a buyer on the acquisition side.
Right.
The acquisition side, mostly it's for larger aircraft. So when you're looking at twin turbines and you move into the jet world, a mistake in the purchasing process can be very costly.
Right.
And so we support those people who are acquiring more complex aircraft through that journey, for sure.
And for a German buyer, or seller, the interesting thing is that you kind of open up all those markets in other countries, right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the German market is strong. It's there's enough airplanes transacting, but it's also quite small.
Right.
And so you ideally would want a representation that is a global representation, mm-hmm. really broadcast that airplane out to a wider audience.
Right.
So that's what we do, and that's where we specialize, for sure.
Uh-huh. So it would be real easy for a German buyer, say, to find an aircraft through you in the US, and you would then facilitate that process, getting it over here and doing all
That's right. That's exactly right. So we do around 300 to 350 aircraft deals a year as a firm. So, we're doing quite a few every week.
Right.
And a lot of them are indeed cross-border or they're complex transactions, and we very much have that one buttoned down. Yeah.
So
love
what
moving
is
airplanes back and forth.
Although
I'm told I'm not allowed to do any more ferry flights, but, right?
Right.
And you have to change it from euros into dollars or vice versa.
Right.
But yeah, from a German seller perspective, to have representation around the world increases the viability of a sale.
Right.
And ultimately strengthens the advertisements for that plane.
So what is the kind of the lowest end of aircraft that you would want your hands on, and what is the highest end?
Well, all of them. Yeah.
Right.
We want them all. We want to conquer the world. Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's not really a lowest end and a highest end, right? What we've done at Lone Mountain is we've invested in different platforms to sell. And that really strengthens it depending on what type of airplane you have, right? So let's say we have a Cirrus SR-22T, a G6 maybe. There's quite a few of them on the market right now. Well, it's quite a liquid market, right? It's easy to, well, it's not easy, but it's easy to understand the market for that specific type.
Right.
But if it's a Sia Marchetti or something maybe a little bit off the wall, it's harder to value, right? And it's harder to find that buyer, or a Gyps Air Van. Like they're niche markets, and there might be one buyer in the whole world who's looking for that type, and we have to try to find that one buyer.
Right.
So what we've done is we've actually invested in different platforms. So we have a straight brokerage, right? Which is commission-based. We represent the airplane. We also have an auction site called Aircraft Bidder. So for some of these off-the-wall types of aircraft, or maybe they're smaller value airplanes, right? We had one that was in Miami, Florida. It hadn't been flown in 9 years. There were bits of avionics missing. One of the engines was not even there. The prop was stuffed in the back, and we put that on our auction site. Right, and ultimately it sold for $27,000 or something, right? It's so not a high value one, but we were able to do something for the owner of that airplane who just wanted that headache to disappear, right? And all the way up through to Falcon 900 Bravos, these are big business jets that, these a bit old on that one, but we do Praetors, we do Embraer 300s, Phenom 300 products, whatever, anything in between. Yeah.
Well, something you told me earlier really stuck with me. So you said, as opposed to a buyer and a seller doing their business directly, you kind of take the emotion out of the whole process.
Yeah. It's like, how do you describe your firstborn child, right? They are angels in every way, and your representation of them is maybe not how everybody else sees that child, right?
Right.
My firstborn, by the way, is excellent.
Sure.
Love him to death.
Like my cat.
Exactly. But an airplane is often a very emotional thing for the owner.
Right.
And so what we can do, and it's an emotional process to buy one. Right?
Yeah.
It's not always a rational decision.
Yeah, I see.
And so as a broker, we take a little bit of that emotion away, and we can represent it really unequivocally to anything else in their lives.
Right.
So that's a real value add for using a broker over trying to sell property.
So how expensive is it to employ a broker in the process?
Yeah, we typically take 99% of the aircraft value as commission.
Sure, what else?
We all driving around in Lamborghinis.
Yes.
And that's just the way it is. Sorry, guys. Of course that's not true. It varies, and it varies on value. It varies on what our effort is, to sell it, what it is that you need from us.
Right.
But we work in a very flexible way that works for both buyer, seller, and us, right?
Right. Yeah. How would one get in touch with you? Through the website or?
Yeah. We're on all the platforms.
Right.
So you can find us lonemountaineaircraft.com.
Right.
Is
all
our
one
website.
Word,
all
no
one
dashes,
word.
no anything.
Nope. And all uppercase or all lowercase. It's up to you. Or every other one.
Right.
Yeah. But lonemountaineaircraft.com.
Right.
And we're on Instagram. We have, LinkedIn page.
Right.
Yeah.
So shall we have a look at how your website representation and the different ways
some
look?
of our platforms.
Yeah,
definitely.
I would switch to the view there.
And then I'll show you our valuation tool, which is market leading and very unique to us.
Yeah, so that's how an owner would find out what his airplane is actually worth in the market.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we're going to look at that in a moment.
Yeah.
But first of all, this is a listing that you...
I've just pulled up this is our webpage.
Right.
So this is our standard brokerage.
Right. That's not the auction side.
This is not our auction, right? So if you come to lonemountaineaircraft.com and you just click on aircraft for sale, you'll see all of our inventory, right? They're all here. We have 2025 airplanes all the way through to 1968 and older than that. Everything that we have for sale is here. Some of these are inventoried, some of these are brokered. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But they're all represented here. And what we really pride ourselves on is, despite having 15 or 16 salespeople, we have a global presence. We're able to harmonize our inventory, right? So we're trying to represent them all to very much the highest standard. And actually what we do is we grade ourselves, and we look very critically internally.
Okay.
When we have a listing and we think, hey, that one's a little bit lacking, we have a system in place to kind of call that out and make sure that we have best representation.
So those photos are coming from the owners, or how does that
No,
work?
definitely not. Yeah, so part of our service will be photographing the aircraft. Right, and so we do that, and we do it professionally. In some places, we might even edit them. So where's a good example? I mean, click on any one if you.
There's one in Europe, so let's take that one.
Yeah, this one's in the UK.
Come on, where do I need to?
And it's
you do it.
Our internet is show internet. So you have the advantage of your own hotspot. But yeah, so this is our listings page. So the airplanes will load. A little bit of preamble, of course. Yeah, this is how we represent airplanes. So we try to get as much detail and as much content as we can, and be as transparent as possible. Any inquiries that come in, we give access generally to logbooks, to card decks, or due lists, whatever that might be. We want to make sure that any prospective buyer knows what they're getting themselves into before we even go through contracting, or we want to reduce surprises at the end of the deal.
Of course,
right?
Yes.
And so we try to represent it in the best way we can.
Right, yeah.
So that's that. That's our listing site. That's kind of what it looks like.
And now
Very
we go for the
exciting is our auction
yes.
site. Yeah, so it's aircraftbidder.com. And this is, like I say, it's a little bit sometimes airplanes that are a little bit harder to value, or, we did a P-51 Mustang, for example.
Wow.
Right? And what's a P-51 Mustang worth? Well, it's worth whatever somebody will pay.
Right.
Right? And so the auction finds out what that number is.
Right.
And it transacts then. So here we have, some of our auction items, and, they typically go for 10 days. We do a pre-marketing period.
Okay.
Yeah. And like many auctions, we've all been to eBay or something similar.
Right.
But there's not a lot of activity in the first couple days, and then the last day it all ramps up,
Sure. Yeah, that's how it normally works. Right? Yeah.
It's exciting. We had one end yesterday. I think it had at the end, I checked it 4 hours before the end, it had 23 bids.
Right.
And so I don't know where it actually ended
23 is a lot, right?
Yeah, well,
for one airplane?
For one airplane, right? We're not doing cars here. We're not selling trinkets, you know? It's these are airplanes, and we're asking people to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy. So to have one bid is already good, right? But so these ones are ending, and they're 5 bids, 4 bids. Yeah, but
is
off
it?
the wall kind of airplanes.
I'm assuming you often you pretty regularly get airplanes that move from the U.S. to a buyer in Europe. How about the other way around?
Yeah, so actually it varies depending on what's happening with the market, what's happening with exchange rates, right? So back in 2008, 2009, we had a lot of airplanes, the U.S. coming to Europe. Right. Now we're seeing it's a little bit going the other way.
Right.
So the European market is a little bit depressed at the moment. It's a little bit slower. Buying cycles are a little bit longer. And so in Europe versus the US, there's more deals happening here that are going to the US. Right.
You
US buyers are still hot.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. You mentioned a third way too to sell airplanes through Long Mountain.
The other thing we have is called the hangar, which is it's like a buy it now on a traditional
auction
marketplace.
Right? Yes.
So it looks very similar to the auction.
Right.
But again, the internet's just a little bit slow. That's okay.
Right.
But it's called the hangar, and we post everything up online, and a prospective buyer can just say, okay, I'm going to offer this.
Right.
And it's done and dusted, as is, where is. They put a number down. The seller can accept it or not.
So your involvement as a broker is kind of less than in a traditional brokerage deal?
Well, yes and no, right? We still have to find the buyer. We still do all of our marketing. We're still responding to inquiries. Right. Any questions from maintenance history or whatever in the logbooks. We're very much that resource.
Even with the hangar.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Lucky are the days when somebody we've never talked to calls us, puts an offer, and pays on this, in the same conversation. That would be a nice thing to have, but that doesn't happen.
Of course. Once again, it's aircraft.
There's still airplanes.
It's not,
and irrational purchases probably for most of us. But it doesn't happen that way, right? So there's always questions. We want to de-risk that purchase because they are airplanes and they're sizable investments. And so any buyer will ask questions about it. Right. How's it been flown? Who owns it? Where's it been maintained?
Stuff
standard
like
stuff that we want to know.
And if you want to pop in any questions in the comment sections, please do. If you have any questions regarding selling airplanes, buying airplanes, if you want to know what's in the inventory, we can answer all those, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I know about every airplane we have for sale. No, that's definitely not true. But we can find the answers to all of them. Yeah.
Excellent.
What's nice about Low Mount, so we have a big team, right? And we all have an OEM specialized. Well, not all of us, I guess, but most of us worked at an OEM before we came to Lone Mountain. So I used to work at Cirrus, so I have very good in-depth knowledge of the Cirrus product.
Right.
We have a guy who is in Tennessee who used to work with Embraer and Bombardier, so we have that product knowledge. Right. Gordon behind us, I'm told he's blurred, but he's there. He used to be in the Piper network. Right. So understands the Piper, the M series, and what's happening in that market. And so while any broker who says they know everything about that type of airplane, it's not possible, right? There's too many types to know intimately.
There is, yes,
and
of
really
course.
For us to add value to a buyer or to a seller, right? You gotta understand the product evolution. You gotta understand maintenance history and trends. You have to understand issues that they've had, parts availability. Like you can't know that for every type, right? Right. And so by having a team where we are ex-OEM people, right, we have that deep knowledge in everything as a team. Now it makes it really value add, I think, for buyer and sellers.
True, yeah. Now if I sat in Germany and had an airplane to sell or wanted to buy one, and I just wanted to chat with you guys first, could I call?
Absolutely.
Where would I call? Is there an office in Germany or?
How do we pop up my number on the screen?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the UK. I'm in London. Right. So let's call it Europe.
But currently, it would be an English language conversation.
For the moment. Yes. Yeah. We are actively rectifying that problem. Yeah. Right. But Google Translate is becoming better and better. Right. There are a lot of AI translation tools.
Of course.
I'm sure we can figure out how to
communicate. Right. Yes. True. Okay.
We all speak the language of aviation and the language of love of flying. So.
But what I wanted to emphasize, it doesn't have to be email. It doesn't have to be the website. It could be a phone call too.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. I mean, if you send me an email, I will probably answer with a phone call. Right. That is. I much prefer. Right. Hearing
it's really
the tone
quicker.
And, Yeah. You get things answered faster and more directly, and it's the old see the whites of the eyes.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
And we're on the road as a team. We're on the road quite a lot, right? Obviously, we're on the road now, and we're in Friedrichshafen for AERO, but I want to go see people. I want to meet them and shake their hands. And
makes sense.
We work on a trust, and our business is very much based on you trusting me and me trusting you.
Of course,
that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Can't build trust too quickly over emails.
Very true. Shall we have a look at that market evaluation tool that you spoke about?
We're very excited about it.
Yeah, and so that's a website that you can publicly access as a...
It is not.
It is not, okay.
Yeah. So the public access portion, it's actually a QR code, which maybe we should get you.
Okay.
And it requests details on your airplane. So make, model, time, avionics installed, engine history, general maintenance history. And we ask for a couple pictures. Right. And what we can do is we take all that information, all the nuts and bolts of your plane, and we plug it into our platform. So we're a volume player. We do a lot of deals. We've been doing a lot of deals for now 20 odd years, 22 years. Yes. Right. And so we have a very rich trove of market values across many different types, right? Plus a couple other tools that we plug in as our data set, and we can generate quite accurately and fairly seamlessly. We can generate valuations and really give, we're a buyer and a seller, we can really give detailed and insightful data points. So they know as a seller where they should be expecting the market to move and what's happening over long term. So for 3 years, we've been really building this out.
And that would be even before the seller actually says, okay, please sell my airplane. So that would be a step before that.
Yeah, it could be, and it's throughout, right? We want to be, it pains me when there's an airplane that's been on market for 300 days and the price is the same and nothing's happened or nothing's been updated, right? Yeah. I mean, really, we should be updating listings on a monthly basis, maybe even more than that, right? So we want to have up-to-date, current information, all the time, right? And especially in a liquid market where maybe it's a PC-12 or Cirruses or TBMs where there are some buyers out there, right? You want to be responsive to any market changes.
Right.
And that's super important. So are we still with our screen?
Go. Yeah. I can switch.
Right. So this is one that I created earlier, but it's on we have this airplane actually sitting outside on static, so it is available today.
Okay.
But,
and it's an SR20 G6.
Yeah, this one's an SR20 G6. It's excellent deal, show price, buy it now. So this is what our report looks like. Obviously a little bit of marketing spiel because ultimately, I want to get the listing.
Right.
But it gives you general market trends. So where's the median price for airplanes just like this one that are on the market, right? It's updated every 2 days. So we are actively tracking what's happening.
And when you say quantity on the market, it's not quantity in your website, but across all the platforms.
Yeah.
So worldwide, basically.
Worldwide, global market,
right.
All listing sites.
Right.
It gives you a little bit of commentary.
Nice. Yep.
Oh, geez. Market summary, listing. These are our sale data points. So we know where they're landing, how hours on the airframe affect it.
Right.
So a seller gets actually a lot of insight into what's happening.
True.
Right? This is very much our secret sauce.
Right.
And then it gives you some comparables, what else is out there that looks like this airplane. It gives you some sold data, so what's sold, where they've transacted. And then at the end of the day, it gives you a valuation. Right. So it says this is what we think that market will transact at.
Right.
And it gives us, look at this, it's a 20K band left to right? So it's a quite tight band.
Right.
And we're very confident in our data and the way that we're updating it and we're looking at it regularly.
Right.
This is exactly where we think
that airplane will land.
Yeah. So you can buy it for $450,000 today, show special. It's worth $495. That's what the data says.
Yeah, that's even below the bracket there. So how much do I have to pay for that? Do I pay for that?
No, you give us a listing.
Right.
Our commission.
Okay. That's it. Right. Yeah. So once I list an airplane with you, I get a proper. Because how often do expectations of sellers that they come to you with diverge from the actual market value every time, right?
All the time.
Up or down?
We all think our firstborn is the smartest in the class, right?
So we all think
they're not all
it's
the
worth
smartest.
more.
So we always think it's worth more.
Right.
And which is okay. That's not we should be proud of it, right? We should be proud of the maintenance that we have done on it and the investments we've made in our airplanes. That's okay. But the market is generally not there.
Okay.
So there are periods, like 3 years ago, where the price delta, or maybe 2 years ago, where the price gap between buyer and seller is very, very big, right? And this was coming out of we call it the COVID bubble.
Right.
Valuations really went through the roof, right? After lockdowns ended, really across the world. And it took a year or maybe a year and a half for sellers, for owners, to recognize that market was that market, and now we're in this market, right? And so, there's a bit of educating that happens there. But actually what's happening now in the market, real current trend, is they're coming closer together. So sellers and buyers' expectations are actually more aligned now than they have been any time, I think, in the last 6 years.
Interesting, yeah.
So, and we track that too, right? We track what our listing prices versus sold prices, what kind of deltas there are, or what's negotiated discounts. So we track all that data. We can see that gap is getting closer together.
But as you were saying, if in classified ads, you see those airplanes sitting there with the same price even for years sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you were asking yourself, does this guy really want to sell it, or is it just kind of to have it there? But if you really want to sell it, then this tool can really help. Get the expectations set and get the price range right.
That's
so it's a big help.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And
very
it's not just a broker telling you something because he wants the work or wants to sell you a piece of junk plane, right? This is market data. This is do we have an influence of it? Of course we do, but this is what's happening, and we can't massage what's happening in the market. Like I don't control all of aircraft transactions, although that's the goal. I have to be honest, Thomas.
Sure.
At some point, we'll do 100% of the market. For now,
of course,
we're still working our way.
And you'll all get Siamese cats, right?
That's right, yeah.
So if there's any trouble between buyer and seller, after the sale goes through.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're not involved in that, right? You don't offer any kind of warranty or something like that. That's just not doable in this market, right?
Yeah, well, in any market, right?
Right.
I don't operate the airplane.
You buy it as seen, and that
Yeah.
you're not. The actual buying process is not something you're involved with, right? I mean, in the sense that you kind of do pre-buy inspections and stuff like that, or you can arrange for those.
Yeah,
obviously.
we arrange for those, right? I would recommend any buyer does a pre-buy,
Right.
And it definitely protects their purchase, right?
Right.
I mean, it's
Yes.
you're not buying a trinket.
Right.
It's a high value asset, and
Right.
for many people, it's maybe their largest asset purchase in their life, right?
Right.
Aside
Yes.
from a house.
Yes.
So yeah, de-risk that purchase for sure, and we would certainly advise a buyer to do that.
Right.
But we're also only as good as a broker. We're only as good as our last transaction.
Right.
And if a buyer has a bad experience post-sale in their own airplane or something breaks,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like we're there to help.
Right.
It's not my problem. I
No.
don't owe you money for that.
No.
You
No.
bought
But
the plane.
you can still
But
help.
We're absolutely
some.
there,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we're in the industry. I think actually all of us at Lone Mountain are pilots as well.
Right.
Right. So many of us are ourselves airplane owners.
Right. Yeah.
And certainly all operators. Right.
Right.
And so we understand these things, and a problem that you've had, we've probably seen it before.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we might be able to help solve that problem a little faster, or give you some
Right.
pointers, or
Right.
And we're at the show, and we're talking to the OEMs all day, every day while we're here, building those relationships that we can better support owners, not just to transact a deal,
Right.
but to properly support them. And selfishly, Thomas, I want to help them, right? Because when they want to sell their airplane in 2 or 3 years, I want them to call me.
Right.
Right.
True.
So
yeah, very true.
it's
Yes.
nobody keeps an airplane for 50 years.
No.
And that's the first and the last purchase ever, right?
Right.
We
Yeah.
want that repeat business, and that's super important for us.
Right. Yeah. And one thing that you can certainly help with is those transactions with very large sums of money. Internationally, right? Yeah, I mean, transferring money to the US to buy an airplane, that's kind of a tricky thing to do, and that's something where you really can shine, right?
Yeah, that's a big differentiator with other, let's say smaller brokerages, right? I mean, we're doing transatlantic deals every month. Like we have the processes in place, and we have the people and the partners in place to do proper FX, with lowest risks and longest lead times.
Yeah.
We have our import-export partners in most countries around the world. We have a network of ferry pilots. This is very much a differentiator for us versus other what would be smaller brokerages.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else we should touch upon?
Oh man, so many things. Yeah. No, I think this is a nice summary. So.
We've pretty much covered it, right? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Philip.
No, thank you. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Und das war's von
Have a good
unserem
show.
Livestream. Yes, you too. Yeah, it's still one more day, right?
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
All right. Vielen Dank und tschüss. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Where's my cursor?